let me first of all show you the page that we're going to make today. So I'm making this, oh, let me take this off because it jangles. I'm making this album sort of mirror. So the page that you're going to see today and the page that I'm going to make today will both appear at page 1 and page 8. So this is the page that we're going to make today. I was watching Paul and looking at the one he did at CoolKatz, and he used that little bit of ribbon, which I hadn't ever thought of doing. But when you've got something that goes right down to the bottom, but you want something to lift it up, that little piece of ribbon is a really good idea. So I can't take any credit for that. That was either Paul or Maggie or Kay or somebody from the CoolKatz workshop. But I just thought, what a brilliantly simple idea. So you've got a piece of ribbon, you've got a pocket page here. So when you lift that up, this is difficult to make sure you can see it all. You've got another pocket page here, and you've got paper matching here. You've got another little pocket, and on this one, because I happen to have one I've made, I've put another little tuck spot on there. I'm not going to do that on the one we make today, but you can quite easily make another little tuck spot. And we've got photo slots. But then if I lift it up again, and this is going to be almost impossible for you to see, so let me try. You've got another pocket and some tuck spots. But then you've also got 2 side panels. So you've got plenty of room for photographs, but I've also tried to make sure that there are pockets for memorabilia, and then the whole thing just folds down with a magnet. So that's what we're working on today. I wanted a page that sort of summed up memory books. I had a lovely, lovely day on Saturday. I sold all my new memory books, which was lovely. But what was also nice was chatting to people, lots of people interested. And what I was trying to get over was this idea of a memory book being not just a photograph book, not just a memory box, but a bit of both. So with this page, I've really tried to incorporate that idea. So you've got lots of tuck pockets for bits and pieces of memorabilia, theatre tickets, bus tickets, whatever you want. I know nothing comes with tickets anymore, but you know what I mean. Gift tags, special cards, but you've also got your photo slots, and you've got space to write. So this is a sort of double-edged thing, trying to cut down on using too much paper, but at the same time also giving places to write your memories as well as recording them from photographs and other things. So lots of photograph spaces, but also spaces to write and spaces that I haven't put anything, so you can leave them blank, or you can stick a photograph, or you can stick, you know, anything on there. And then it all just comes together. So it sort of encompasses everything that a memory book should be. Good morning, Debbie. Good morning. So that's what I wanted to do with that page. It was really interesting having those conversations with people about memory books. So some people said, is it a photograph album? Well, yes, it is, but it's so much more. And trying to sort of get across. But, I mean, people just bought them. It was so lovely. It was really, really lovely. Okay, so let's make a start. So in terms of your actual structure, there isn't a huge amount to this. So I'll go through the measurements. I've done a lot of the scoring and folding, but I haven't done the side flaps, but I've done everything else because it just takes so long. So you have 2 side flaps. When you cut them to 7 5/8 by 5 1/2. So you cut to 7 5/8 by 5 1/2. Then you put them in your scorer portrait and you score at 1/2 inch. And you do 2 of those. So you end up with a flap, or you will do, that is 7 5/8 by 5. So what I'm just going to do on these is just fold those, and I'll burnish them in a moment, but let me just fold them so that you can see, and I'll also mitre them. that you end up with a piece 7 5/8 tall by 5 wide. Now, I've called both of these top flaps because they are both top flaps. So I've called them top flap 1 and top flap 2. So let's start with top flap 1. Top flap 1, you cut to 7 7/8, so everything is 7 7/8, and then you cut it to 8 3/8. So 7 7/8 by 8 3/8, and obviously it doesn't matter which way round you cut it because it's just card. Excuse me for a moment. In fact, you'll have to cut it one way because it's 8 3/8. And then you're going to do 2 score lines. So you're going to score at 1/2 inch and then 5/8. And what I didn't want to do was to be trying to do those little tiny bends. You've seen me do that before. So what you're producing is that little gusset. So you're going to fold and score the 1/2 inch and the 5/8 one, so that what you end up with is that tiny little gusset there, and then you miter that corner. So that's your top flap. What you will end up with is a 7 7/8 square. Top flap 2 starts off at 7 7/8 by 8 1/4. So it's a slightly different size. 7 7/8 by 8 1/4. And again, and what I should have said on both of those is you are scoring landscape. So you're going to score at 1/2 inch and 5/8 of an inch, so that you get that little top spine. Okay, so this is top flap 2. On the top of top flap 2, I've also did a great big squiggle because that's where your magnet is going to go, and this will all make sense. So you're going to end up with a 7 7/8 by 7 5/8. So 7 7/8 by 7 5/8. It's slightly shorter. So we've done the side flaps, and then you want your actual page, which if you're making an 8 by 8 album, I've made this 8 by 8, and it's a pocket page because I'm making a pocket page album, hardback album. So we're going to start by constructing the page. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take top flap 1. So this is the one that is 7 7/8 square. So 7 7/8 both ways. And we've done that little spine and we've mitered the corners. So we're going to put the glue on there and put this to the top of the page. Now I've put an arrow on my page to make sure I'm doing it the right way. But you know what? Belts and braces. I'm just going to check that my opening is on the side. So this is going to go onto here, on the top, and run your finger across to make sure it's absolutely level. Okay, I'm just going to put it down. Give it a little squeeze, but not too much. Get your hand underneath so that you can hold that in place, because you don't want that to move, because you know it's straight. And it's just move slightly even doing that. And then I'm just going to get my burnishing tool and I'm going to burnish that into place like so. So that burnishes into place like so. Okay, I don't want to burnish it too much on the front because I don't want to break down the spine. So this is now my top flap, main page top flap. I'm now going to put my top flap 2 onto the top of that. So you've got main page, top flap 1, top flap 2. So again, you've got that tiny little spine. you've got your glue. I haven't mited the corners, so I'm just going to do that quickly and that quickly. And then that is going on the top of the first flap. Okay, so I should have called it the under flap or something. I don't know. I just, when I was writing it down, I couldn't think of another word. So that is going to go on there. And what you may have been able to see, my white pencil has broken, and every time I sharpen it, it just breaks again. So I'm going to get a new white pencil. But what you might have been able to see is that on the top of this one here, again, I've got magnet. So I've got magnet on there, and I've got magnet on the page. Okay, so that's where the magnets are going. Okay, so I'm just lining that up. Sorry, I'm not really focused. Lining that up, put your hand underneath to hold it in place, gently lift it, and just burnish that down. So that's going to go on to there like so. Okay, and we're just going to leave that open. So now we're coming back to this. So this is your page. This is your first flap that you put on, and we're working still on that first flap. So I'm just going to take my side flaps. I'm going to burnish them because I want a nice flat fold. And this time I'm going to do quite a deep mitre. So I'm going in there, and I'm going in there. And I'm taking more off because I don't want it to clash with that any more than it has to. And then this is going to go on here. Now, what you don't want is it going over those first folds. Now I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking that is just going to go just that tiny little tad too much. So because I don't want that, I'm actually going to trim a tiny little bit. And you won't know whether you need to do that until you actually come to put it into place. And it's only the tiniest little bit that needs to come off. So it's just a slither that needs to come off. So, oops. See, it's so small, it's falling down the crack. Right, let me just get it out. I want to show you how small it is. There we go. No, it's gone again. There, chase it up there. There, I think I've got it now. There you go. So it is the tiniest of little slithers, but it will make all the difference. So let me just put that away. I won't put it away because I might need it again for the other side. So when I put this on, it's flat to that first spine, and it's, is it flat to that one? Is it? I still think it needs a tiny bit more. So I'm just going to take a tiny bit more off. I'm just going for a tiny bit more. Should have gone a little bit more generous the first time. Okay. So taking another little slither off. That's now crashed to the floor. So, main page, first one. I'm going to put that on there, and now if you can see, I don't know whether you can, it's free to bend over properly there, and it's free to bend over properly there. So I'm going to put this first one on, and what I might find, I'm just going to mitre that again because it's now not mitered. There we go. What I might find is I need to do the same on the other one, but until you've stuck those together, you don't know whether you're going to have to take anything off or not. It really depends where you've positioned your two hinges. So I'm just working that glue in, and then I'm fitting it between the first of the two creases, like so. Lifting it up, making sure we're straight. Okay, so you've got your first, your second crease, your second crease, and it fits snugly in between those. If you don't get that right, it's never going to sit snug. So it's worth that couple of seconds just trimming it and measuring it and trimming it and measuring it. But as I say, it is such a small amount, I can't say to you, you need to take X amount off. So I'm now going to do the same on the other side. So I'm just going to... So to an extent, it depends how accurate your cutting is and how accurate your gluing is. And you can see mine isn't 100% accurate. So remember, you're taking a deep miter. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to put it level with that side, and I can see that I need to take off at least 1/8 of an inch, because it's actually hanging over the second hinge. So this has fallen on the floor. So I'm going to go straight in this time and take 1/8 of an inch. In fact, I'm going to take slightly more than 1/8 of an inch, because I don't want it to be really snug. So try putting that down on the floor without dropping it this time. There we go. So now that should fit. Still snug, but it's fine, it does fit. It should fit inside those first two fold lines. So the first fold line there, the first fold line there. So, and now I'm going to stick it. Now I would probably have burnished this a little bit more, but I'm just doing this for speed. I can always come back and burnish it later. So again, I'm going to the edge, lifting it up, making sure it's straight with my hand, with my fingers, and I'm happy. Whoops, I'm the wrong way to hold it in place. Okay, lots of oozy glue, don't worry about that, everything's going to get covered, and then that goes like that. So main page, and your flaps, top, flap 2, all comes down onto there, and you've got a tiny little bit at the bottom which will give you a space to put a little bit of ribbon. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do is put the magnet in. So that's all in place. So the magnet is going there and there. So with everything folded up, the magnet will go there and match down to there. Excuse me. What GSM are you using? I am using 290, which is what I tend to use all the time. Morning, Dawn. Thank you for watching. Good morning. I hope you're having a good time. Right, I am going to find my magnets. I know they're here. I think I've got one packed with 2 left in, yes. Okay, so my way of doing magnets, everybody has a slightly different. I've got 2 magnets left here. Keep them separate from each other. A little bit of tape. So I use CoolKatz magnets, which are extremely powerful. So I'm just going to put one there and take that off and put one on. and a little bit of tape over the top. Oh, why are all my tapes no-edged? What have I done with it? There it is. Find the edge. Pull it as taut as you can. Pull it down taut and then just press it down, and it just gives a smooth edge. It covers the magnet and also gives it an extra belt and braces stick down. So then we're going to put the other one on the top, and then the other reason I use this is because when I use this bit it doesn't stick to the sticky underneath. So put that on the top, get my pokey tool. This is again, this is CoolKatz tape, so it is easy to get off. She says messing it up a bit. Okay, let's just pull that out and pull that out. Okay, that's fine. And then I'm just going to close that down, give it a good push, open it back up. There we are. Again, bit of black tape over the top. Pull it taut. Now, CoolKatz do also do mag pops, which are a little, it's a die that makes a little thing that fits over the top and indents over the magnet. To be honest, I find this just as easy to do it this way. Okay, I'll put that away. Let me just try and keep a little bit tidier. Right, so now everything is held in place. So the other thing I want before I start decorating is a little bit of ribbon. So if we look back to this, there's that little bit of ribbon. So I'm going to put that in place as well. So that is going to go on the top of my top flap. So while I've got the tape out, let's do that. So I'm going to put, now I am going to try and centre this. So this is 7 7/8. So 7 7/8. By doing all this first, of course, any marks you make are going to be hidden. So I'm going to line that up. Shouldn't have taken the backing off my tape. Well, that shot across there, didn't it? Okay. It's because I'm trying to keep this tape from sticking to anything. So there's my halfway mark. So I'm going to put my tape there, like so, and then we're just going to get a little tiny bit of ribbon. You don't need very much. Oh, blunt scissors. Okay, I may have got too little bit there. May have gone just a bit, yeah, gone a little bit too small there. Cut a bit more because you can always cut it down to size. And then just cross it over each other. Make sure it hangs down slightly over the edge. I think I went that way, didn't I? So that... Oh, please excuse me. Yeah, so that goes like that. So I'm just going to lift up that tape now. So I've got it in the place I want it to be. And I'm just going to pop that down like that. And then I'm going to put some tape over the top. And down here, over the top. And one more. And over the top. Don't go so close to the edge that the sticky is going to show, but that gives you, okay. And if you're worried, in fact, I'm going to do it because the ribbon is going to take a lot of welly. So I'm going to take these bits off, like so. And I'm actually going to put a bit of black tape over the top as well. Because it will take a lot of welly. So put a bit on there, like so, and then another bit on there. What you don't want is the little ribbon being pulled out. Okay, so probably gone well overboard with my black tape, but there you go. That's not going anywhere quickly. Right, okay, so now we can start decorating. Okay. Do you think I could get away with 300 GSM? Yes, you could. You could get away because this is 290, so you're only a bit off. Where you'll find your problem, and I did with the 290 to start with, is when you actually come to fold it, Debbie. So just remember, when you're folding it, you don't want it to crack. So just that gentle manoeuvring and, you know, bending before you start to make a fold. That's the only thing I would say with going up, you know, another 10 GSM. But as long as you're careful and you just bend it first instead of going straight in. And when you do go in with a fold, go from the middle out. Don't start at one end and go across, because if you do that, you're more likely to get it offline. If you go from the middle and gently go out, it should work with 200. Okay, so now we're ready to start decorating. So I've got here my top flap. I've got to remember where I am. Top page. I've got them all written down and I'm still. Top flap 1. Let's do this one first. So, no. This is top flap. Top flap 1. Just remind myself. So top flap 1 is a pocket. Okay. So we'll start with top flap 1. So for top flap 1, I'll just give you all the measurements. That's card, papers, top flap 1. So you're originally going to have a piece that is 7 5/8 across. So you're working on slightly different ways now. 7 5/8 across, 7 1/2 down. So if I put this together, okay, it's not matching up. It will be 7 5/8 across and 7 1/2 down. And then you're going to cut 3 inches from the left-hand side. And you want a piece of card, 3 1/4 inches wide by 7 3/4. So 7 3/4 by 3 1/4 to take this, which is 7. It's all written down. 7 5/8 by 3 inches. Okay. Now I'm going to choose to go with that on one side and that on the other. And what I haven't done, I meant to do this morning, but I just got to the point where I needed to start, was go around these edges. So I'm just going to go around the edges of this. Okay. And I'm going to stick that onto there. I like that side, but I don't want it all the way across. Okay, so this is the very, very front of your page. Is just going to be a tuck pocket. So I'm just going to make that centered like so. And then I'm going to go around the edge of this. Like so. And then that is going to go on there. Try and make sure you cover up all the stickiness at the bottom there when you do it. So that's going to go on there. Like so. I'm just going to lift this up so that I can see exactly where I am. And then this is going to go 3 sides, thumb where you don't want it to go, and 1, 2, 3. Do make sure the glue goes right to the top. Okay, had a couple of problems with pockets coming adrift. Make sure that's lined up with your papers. And then the only other thing you would do with that is to pop a little thing inside and decorate it up. So the underside of this is this piece. So we're going to decorate that piece next. So we're going to open this up, open this up, open the flaps. So this is the underside of this. And for this, I have just taken a piece of paper. And again, it's 7 5/8 by 7 1/2. Where am I? I haven't written it down, but it is. So it's the same size, and I've just put a CoolKatz photo slots in there. So I'm going to go, let me just go around the edges first. So I'm going to go around the edges. Okay. So 7 5/8 wide, 7 1/2 tall, and I've just put a photo slot in mine. Now obviously you can do however you want to decorate these. You might want the whole thing to be photo slots, you might want another pocket here. I'm just showing you the idea that I had. So that is then going to go nice and neatly in the middle of that. Okay. So now I'm going to do the flaps. So let me find the flaps. Let me find the flaps. You were there a minute ago. There they are. So for the side flaps, you want to cut 3 pieces of paper at 7 1/2 by 4 3/4. So 7 1/2 by 4 3/4. And into 2 of those, I have just cut photo slots. And I'm going to pop those on the outside there. Now, what I need to be careful of, yeah, it's still fine, it still fits. Okay, so again, I'm going to go around the edge. So you're going to cut 3 pieces of paper. And I know you're all screaming at me saying, surely it should be 4. Good morning, Nan Patterson. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. So I'm just going to pop that on to that one. And as I say, I've used the CoolKatz photo slot dies. Somebody asked me, what if you were buying for the first time from CoolKatz, what would you buy? I mean, really difficult question to answer. But for me, the photo slots, I don't think I ever make a book where I don't use them. So that's going to go on that side. So the ones I've used here are set 1. But I've also used set 2, so that one is set 2. So, you know, I mean, if you're just buying one to start with, go with set 1. But I think you'll very quickly find you want set 2. So I'm going to put this one on this side. Okay. There we go. And I'm going to pop that one onto there. Always make sure that you've cut out the mat for the photo slots and put them in. So when you get the dies, you get the die that cuts the actual slot and you get the die that cuts the in my case, cream coloured card, the matte. So by putting it in first, you can see where not to glue. So as you can see, I'm going round that area with quite a wide berth. So I'm going to come into there. I want that just to line up with that one. Now, if you've got a pattern piece of paper and you're feeling very clever, you can try and match the pattern up. I've deliberately chosen one where it doesn't really matter. Right, now the reason we cut 3 and not 4 is that on the underside, I'm going to put card at the top and cream card at the bottom. And again, I might just need to trim this because I've trimmed these down. So the third piece I cut in half. Excuse me. So you've got 2 at 3 3/4, like so. And then the cream card is 4 3/4 by 3 7/8. But because I cut this down slightly, I need to cut the cream card down as well. So I'm going to stick these on, like so. Now you could make a pocket out of this if you want to. I'm just trying to keep this as flexible in terms of space, in terms of use rather, not space. So, you know, people could put a photograph on there, or you could put, if this, you've got little fairies on here, so it might be for a child's memory book. So you might want to put a little picture that they've done. So I always try and keep it as flexible in use as I can. So let me stick that one down as well. Okay, so that's going on the inside of the flaps, like so. And then I'm going to have to take probably an 1/8, maybe 3/16. No, I go for 3/16, I think. It's always better to cut slightly less. You can always go back. So I'll go for 3/16 in this one as well. Okay. And then these will go, hopefully. Yes, absolutely perfect, Sarah. Okay, that one's going to go on that side. Like so. Like so. Et voila. And this one's going to go on this side. Like so. Let's move that ink out the way, otherwise I can see that going all over the book. Okay, and that's going to go on to there. Let's just move it down slightly, like so. So those are your side flaps done. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work on this top flap. So I'm going to fold that over and I'm going to bring this top flap down. So here is the page that goes in the book with the holes in the side, and here is your top flap. And for this, we're going to try and do a paper match. Now, I've actually chosen a pattern, a paper that doesn't really matter whether you paper match or not. But if you were going to paper match, then you need to make sure that you cut it equally. So your piece of paper, your original piece of paper, is 8 in length and 7 5/8 in width. I'm just going to grab a quick drink. So this is perfect for an 8 by 8 paper. And then you're going to cut it in half to 4 inches. So each of those is 4 inches. On this one, you're going to make this into a pocket. Okay, so you want a piece of card 7 3/4 by 4 1/4, and this is going to stick on to here like this. So that's going to be a pocket. This is just going to be a piece of paper, and that you're not going to put a pocket on there. You could, if I open this up, you could do what I've done here and put photo corner in, and as you can see I have put a little tuck pocket on that cream. That is up to you whether you do that or not. So on this one I haven't cut a photo slot into there, I've just left it plain. I won't leave it plain in the end, I will decorate it up, but in terms of this I haven't put the photo slots on. If I'm absolutely honest, I forgot. Okay, and I'm not going to do it at this point, so I'm just going to go round here. Okay, you might just as well be honest with your mistakes, mightn't you? So that's that's going to go on there, and I will put something on there. I might put a little belly band or something on, but I'll think about that later. It's a good way of showing you can do various things if you want to. So I'm going to put that onto there, like so. And then I'm going to pop this on the bottom, like that. Okay, and no, come on Sarah, be sensible, you've written on that side. That's the side you want the glue. So this piece of paper is 7 5/8 by 3 5/8. So you cut that into 2 4-inch pieces, and then this will fit on the bottom with a tiny little margin all the way round. So this you're going to make into a pocket, but before you do that you're going to put this piece on. So this is 7 5/8 by 3 1/2. So that's going to go on there, and then your pocket is going to go like so. So let me just go around this. So 7 5/8 by 3 1/2. Remember that your magnet is under there, so you don't want to put anything too much over the top of that. And then we'll just go around this, just moving it away from the cream card because little bits of black foam. I need to put a new one on. Let me just see if I've got any other comments that I've missed. I don't think so. Thank you to everybody for keeping up with it. Okay, so that's going to go onto there. So I'm not really using any new techniques today. What I'm doing is thinking about how I can put this together, as I say, to best demonstrate what a memory book does. So then that's going to go onto there like so. Finger on the thumb on the right one. Plenty of glue at the top. Glue around the 3 edges. And then bring that into place. And I'm just going to lift it so I can see what I'm doing. Okay. And as I said, if you've got a nice matching pattern, that starts to look really nice. So you've got one more to do, which is your top flap 2 underneath. And for this one, under top flap, 7 5/8 by 7 1/2. So 7 5/8 by 7 1/2. And I've got a piece of card haven't written the measurements on. Let me see if I've got it here. 5 1/4 by 7 3/8, and you are going to cut 5 inches from the right hand side, and I am going to paper match this pattern. So this piece is going to go straight onto here, like so. Okay, and then that's going to go down like so. So your original piece of paper, 7 5/8 in width, 7 1/2 in height, and you're going to cut 5 inches off. The smaller bit you're going to stick straight down. My tummy is rumbling. And then the larger piece you're going to mount onto a piece of card, and that is going to be your large pocket. And again, you could put photo slots in there if you wished. And that's going to go onto there like that. Always lay it down and double check if the measurements are right before you go anywhere near the glue. Okay, so that's going to go onto there. I'm nearly running out of glue in there. And that's going to go onto there, and that has to be level. So what you will find with this piece is your paper and your card are the same size. The reason being, you don't want it to go over the creases at the bottom here. So it's better to err on the side of caution and keep it the same size as your paper. Thumb where you don't want it to go. Go round the edges. Make sure you've got enough at the top. And then you can match that up with your papers, and it won't interfere with your crease there. And then we just get all this sorted out. There we go. That goes there, that goes there. So turn it around this way and you can see. You've got your top flap, you've got your magnet, which should pull up. There we go. You've got your matching papers with a pocket and a non-pocket, and there should have been a photo slot in there, but there wasn't. Then it opens up again, and you've got another pocket, which is the one we've just done. You've got your side pockets, your side flaps rather, and you've got your main photo space in there. And then the whole thing comes together like